The Cockatrice Boys by Joan Aiken, Chapter 5. Slowly in fits and starts, depending on the condition of the track, the Cockatrice Belle made her way northwards to York and Thirsk, to Darlington and Newcastle. Surprisingly few monsters hindered her course, and yet the countryside was sadly empty and wasted. There were very few humans to be seen. Wildlife was considerably reduced too. "I don't like it," muttered the colonel. "It ain't right, this lack of monsters. I don't trust it." "You think they're mustering, Colonel, for an all-out assault somewhere farther north?" suggested Major Scanty. "Yes, Major, that's just what I do think." And the colonel made Bellswinger keep the men at battle exercises all day long, every day, to maintain them in hard-fighting condition. Mrs. Churt was exhorted to feed them on wild spinach, heather porridge, and what raw greens could be garnished by the trackside, either from woods or commons, or from deserted farms and gardens. But as they traveled north, the conditions became more and more wintry. Snow lay thicker and thicker on hillsides. There were fewer and fewer wild greens to be found. The main obstacle to their progress in these rougher and more hilly regions was the state of the track, which often required days of repair before the train could cautiously advance over it. Bridges, likewise, needed mending, and the engineers had to make use of what materials they could find lying about in ruined good yards and sidings along their route. "Days and days wasted," fumed the colonel, as the party of engineers doggedly extended a new span of bridge across the River Tyne. "It will be much better on the return journey," mildly pointed out Major Scanty. "Their work will be done already." "If we ever do return," muttered the colonel. One advantage of these periods of enforced standstill was that Mrs. Churt's herb gardening parties could range further afield, and the Archbishop spent many hours of leisure with Dakin and Sana, teaching Dakin French and Sana the basics of mathematics. "But why should I want to measure the distance from that tree to the sun?" she asked. "What use would it be?" "Oh, my dear child, you never know when such knowledge may come in handy, and," pursued the Archbishop thoughtfully, "to have knowledge in your brain of any kind, if it is true and factual, is always a useful defense against the assaults of the evil one. Knowledge is a shield, and it can be a weapon." "I'm not sure that I know what you are talking about," said Sana. "In fact, I'm quite sure that I don't." "Well, my child, remember those long, sad days in the past when you were imprisoned in your aunt's flat with your hands tied behind you to prevent you from knocking over the china treasures? What did you think about during those hours?" "Well," admitted Sana, "at first I tried to think of how, if I could get my hands undone, I'd push Auntie Floss out the window, or bash her to flinders with the rolling pin. She had one made of marble." "Just so, assaults of the evil one." "Sir? On Auntie Floss?" "No, child, on you." "And then," went on Sana, pondering, remembering, "I began to see Dakin, ever such a long way off, a-coming toward me, and that cheered me up a lot. So, instead of planning how to do in Auntie Floss, I took to remembering a place Dad and Mam and I used to stop at on holidays when I was a little un." "Yes? Where was this place, then, my dear?" "Oh, I don't know, sir. I don't remember. It was called Bride's Bridge. 2 rivers met, and there was a gravel bed where I used to play, and a ring of trees, big trees, and just a few houses. An old lady called Alison Pittendreech lived there. Aunt Allie, I called her. She used to give me griddle cakes, and there were big black mountains over the other side of the brook. It was a lovely place. Aunt Allie gave me 2 tiny dolls with china heads, and I called them Ted and Emily after Mam and Dad. I built them a palace of stones on a big rock in the river. If I think hard, I can remember the sound the water made, running among all those rocks. I used to jump across with dry feet, using them as stepping stones." "Stepping stones, just so," said the Archbishop. "They help you pass the danger of the fast-flowing water. In the same way, knowledge, good, sound knowledge, can help your mind leap over currents of cruelty, depths of deceit, slimy swamps of sin." "Fancy," said Sana. "You mean knowing about the square on the hypotenuse can do all that?" They were sitting in the colonel's office. The colonel himself was outside on the observation deck, inspecting a party of men who were holding a snark practice. In the distance, they could hear the powerful voice of Sergeant Bellswinger. Form threes! Snark weapons tune! Snark weapons point! Snark weapons fire! As you were, reload, make, ready, breathe, in. Every 7 seconds, there's a loud crackle as the snark guns were fired. The Archbishop sighed. Warfare always seems so simple, he said. That is why almost everybody falls back on it in the end. It is the dealings and maneuverings beforehand that are so dangerous and delicate and important. Of course, we must also hope to avoid open war if we can. Even if we are right and the other lot are wrong, asked Aiken. The Archbishop sighed again. But who knows for sure? He was beginning when the phone rang. Oh, dear me, that may be headquarters for Colonel Clipspeak. He was hoping for a call. Would you take it, Sana? And I will call the Colonel. But before Sana could pick up the receiver, they heard the same nasal, whining voice that on the former occasion had echoed around Bellswinger's little office. It seemed to pour at them like smoke out of the wall panels and the furniture and the relief map on the end wall. Sana, my little Sana. The dog Yuli leapt up, howled miserably, and with ears flattened and tail trailing, bolted precipitatedly from the room. Oh, mercy! Gasped Sana, much too scared to pick up the phone. The Archbishop stretched out his hand for the receiver. Don't touch it, sir, don't! Cried Sana. The sergeant did when this happened before, and he got a real awful shock. Sana, come to me. Come to your grandfather's house. I need you so badly. I am all alone and old and helpless and crippled. Nobody helps me. I need you to care for me, Sana. I looked after you all that time. I rescued you, I fed you and loved you and was mother to you. Now it's your turn to make a repayment for all I did. For my friends don't come anymore. Nobody comes. And it's lonely here. It's cold. Come to your grandfather's house. I need your young hands to help me. And if you come, perhaps my friends will come back. The words ended in a gibbering shriek. The Archbishop had leapt to his feet and stood listening, all a-quiver, like a gun dog pointing at a rustle in the leaves. The small, plump man suddenly seemed charged with a power and a kind of righteous fury. Begone, you foul spirit! He called out in a loud, clear voice. You have no right in this world. You have no right to make any such demand on this girl. None. Get you gone to your own place. Only wanted a little comfort, whimpered the voice. So cold, so lonely, all in the dark, no stairs to climb, no lights, no smells, no sounds, no tastes, no voices. You have no rights to such comforts, thundered the Archbishop. You bartered away those rights when you made your bad bargain. You made your own wicked bed, and now you must lie in it. Be gone and stop tormenting the child. Aiken and Sana stared at one another, open-mouthed and wide-eyed. The voice died away in faint wails and sobs. Dr. Wren wiped beads of perspiration from his brow. That was very instructive, he said. Very instructive indeed. I must devote a lot of thought and prayer to this occurrence, my child. Meanwhile, if anything like this should happen again, pay no heed to it, none. Do not even reply. If necessary, clap your hands over your ears and shut out the sound. Then, replied Sana, wasn't it my Aunt Flossie on the line? It is more likely, said Dr. Wren, that something was impersonating her. Or, if it was your aunt, she has been taken over, possessed by some external power. So you must on no account take any notice or even think of complying with any of her demands. No, sir. Thank you, sir. Yuli crawled back into the office, dragging his tail along the floor, whining very much ashamed of himself. He laid his huge shaggy head on Sana's knee, and looking up at her as if to say, I do apologize, but really it was quite out of my power to stay in this room with that going on. Squad dismiss! bawled Sergeant Bellwether outside. Do you think it was Aunt Floss's voice? Said Sana to Dakin when they were alone together. You met her. You heard her talk. Dakin was doubtful. I wasn't there for long, he said cautiously. It sounded sort of like her, but I don't know. It could have been somebody imitating her voice. That's what Dr. Wren seems to think, and he's a canny old cove. But why should somebody do that? Who? Shivered Sana. If it isn't Auntie Floss, who in the world would ask for me to come like that? Well, said Dakin, best to do what Dr. Wren says. Take no notice. Don't think on it. That's easy for you to say. It wasn't speaking to you. Dakin reflected that this was true, but he did not know how to help Sana, and this made him rather impatient. Try not to think on it. Shall we play a game of checkers? No, said Sana. I'd rather read a bit more of that book about Rome. Reading about what happened in Rome so long ago, she thought, might take her mind off what was happening now. And we'll pause there.